everything that is taking place within the framework of the special military operation in Ukraine, everything that is being done by our military on a daily basis is a response to the actions of the Kyiv regime, which has acquired all the characteristics of a terrorist regime.
Russia launched a deadly overnight missile and drone barrage across Ukraine, hitting the capital city of Kyiv and several other cities hard. Explosions echoed through the capital as Ukrainian air defenses battled waves of kamikaze drones and incoming missiles. The barrage on Kyiv had begun with the buzz of Russian kamikaze drones, followed by Ukrainian anti-aircraft fire. The missile mix included ballistic, cruise, and Kaliber missiles launched from land and warships in the Black Sea. In Kyiv, fires broke out in multi-story buildings, and a metro train was hit, disrupting public transportation services. More than 2,000 households on the eastern bank of Kyiv lost power as infrastructure damage was assessed on Friday morning. The attack followed a Ukrainian drone strike named Operation Spiderweb deep in Russia that reportedly damaged or destroyed over 40 aircraft. Russian President Vladimir Putin had vowed retaliation, and he reportedly told U.S. President Donald Trump that Russia had no choice but to act. Trump said it might be better to let Ukraine and Russia fight for a while rather than pursue peace immediately as the two sides intensify attacks against each other, pushing away chances of negotiations even further.
It's very sad what's going on. We both feel that way. What's going on with Russia, Ukraine, and other things we talk about, but Russia, Ukraine in particular. I'd like to see it end, and maybe it'll end, but we get some news there'll be some fighting. Something happened a couple of days ago, and now they do a return, and here it goes. It's not good. He's unhappy about it. I'm unhappy about it. But I think eventually we're going to be successful in stopping the bloodshed. It's pure bloodshed. 5,000-6,000 young soldiers a week are being killed. That's a bloodbath that's going on over there. And when I see the moment where I say, well, they're going to just keep fighting. I gave the analogy yesterday when I spoke to President Putin. I had a 2-hour and 15-minute call with him. Sometimes, and this is me speaking maybe in a negative sense, but sometimes you see two young children fighting like crazy. They hate each other and they're fighting in a park. And you try and pull them apart. They don't want to be pulled. Sometimes you're better off letting them fight for a while and then pulling them apart. And I gave that analogy to Putin yesterday. I said, President, maybe you're going to have to keep fighting and suffering a lot because both sides are suffering before you pull them apart, before they're able to be pulled apart. But it's a pretty known analogy. You have two kids, they fight. Sometimes you let them fight for a little while. You see it in hockey. You see it in sports. The referees let them go for a couple of seconds. Let them go for a little while before you pull them apart. And maybe, and I said it, and maybe that's a negative because we're saying go, but a lot of bad blood. There's some bad blood between the two. I have to deal with it, and the chancellor has to deal with it. It's incredible. The level of, there's a great hatred between those two men, but between the warring parties, great hatred. He attacked, and they attacked pretty harshly. They went deep into Russia, and he actually told me, I made it very clear. He said, we have no choice but to attack based on that, and it's probably not going to be pretty. I don't like it. I said, don't do it. You shouldn't do it. You should stop it. But again, there's a lot of hatred. Don't have things under control. And why now? I can say that it can't come soon enough, frankly. Remember this. They like to say that I'm not friends with anybody. I'm friends with you. I'm not friends with that. I want the right thing to happen for our country, for everybody, for humanity. But I'm the one that stopped the pipeline. It's called Nord Stream 2. Until I came along, nobody ever heard, not one person in this room ever heard of Nord Stream 2. You probably did, yes, because it went to Germany. He's the only one
knowing that this was a mistake.
But I stopped him. I stopped it. Yeah, and you've said that openly.
Yeah.
It was a mistake because, and I used to go with Angela. I'd say, well, wait a minute. We're spending all this money to defend you against Russia, And then you're giving Russia billions of dollars a month. What kind of a deal is that? You know, which was, but you said it better than anybody else. I appreciate it. But I'm the one that stopped it. And that was the biggest economic development job, if you want to call it that, in the history, think of it, in the history of Russia. That was a massive, it's the biggest pipeline in the world. Going to go all over Europe, not only to Germany. You know, they were Germany, but then they were branching off all over to Europe. Nobody ever heard of, not one person of you heard of it. And I stopped it. It was dead. And then they say, I'm friends with Putin. I got along with him. He respected me, I respected him. It would have never happened. But I stopped Nord Stream 2. When Biden came in, almost the first week, he approved it. He let it be built. And then they say that I wasn't tough on Russia. Putin said to me, you know, you're not tough on Russia. You stopped the biggest, most important job we've ever done. You stopped it.
Ukraine's foreign minister, Andriy Sybiha, accused Russia of hitting civilians in revenge, calling it an attack on Ukraine's humanity. Volodymyr Zelensky said 49 were injured nationwide and urged Ukraine's allies to increase pressure on Moscow immediately. Ukrainian authorities said that the 3 killed in Kyiv were firefighters who died trying to rescue others under fire. The Solomyansky district in Kyiv saw extensive damage, with the upper floors of buildings shattered by the blast waves. Zelensky warned that any delay in global action allows the war to claim more lives, calling inaction a form of complicity.
Everything that is taking place within the framework of the special military operation in Ukraine, everything that is being done by our military on a daily basis, is a response to the actions of the Kyiv regime, which has acquired all the characteristics of a terrorist regime. Speaking specifically about the last night strikes, if you have carefully read the statement by the Russian Defense Ministry, it said that the strikes were carried out in response for the terrorist attacks of Kyiv regime.